Countdown. Good evening, and welcome to Live with the Levi Long Sickle Cell Association. And it is Thursday. Sorry, forgive me. It is Monday night, and I have a guest on tonight, and her name is April. And it's so good to have one of my clients on tonight, someone that is actually living and is challenged with sickle cell. Okay, April. Good evening, April. Can you
Good
go ahead
evening.
and introduce yourself, please?
My name is April Littlejohn. I've been living with sickle cell my whole life for 37 years. So, if you have any questions that you want to ask me, I am an open book. I will tell you what you need to know. Just let me know.
Okay, and thank you so much for coming on tonight. So I would like to know, growing up, well, first I want to know, when did your parents first find out about you having the sickle cell anemia or disease?
My parents found out when I was 6 months. I was 6 months
Okay,
old. I was a baby.
okay. And first, let's step back with the parents.
Mhm.
So can you tell me a little bit about with your parents? So do your mom and dad, they both have a trait? How did that go?
My mom has the trait and my dad has the trait.
Okay,
So
so that's
therefore, I have the full blown sickle cell.
okay. And at 6 months, because I know you probably was told about the age that you had it. So coming up, growing up, give me a little bit about your background growing up, the things that you experienced with the disease as a baby or a toddler, if you can remember, as far back as you can remember.
Um, from what I can remember, and from what my mom or my parents have told me, that I was in and out the hospital a lot. Now, when I started school, like elementary and stuff like that, I didn't have many crises. Um, Basically, I barely had none when I was, through school and middle school. My sickle cell crisis started getting worse. Um, I say like my 12th grade year in high school.
Okay, okay, so that was really good that
Yeah.
you didn't experience it until really late. That's really, really good. So, okay, so since you said in high school, give me an example of one of the first times that you remember having a crisis in high school.
The first time of me having a crisis, I had just moved to Florida. I was 15 years old. I went to mainland, and we were switching classes, and I had a real bad crisis. Now I do tell the people that I am around, like my friends and everything, that I do have sickle cell. If this happened, I had to tell them what to do and stuff like that. I do have friends that I do tell. Um, but at this particular time, I was, switching classes, and I just stopped dead in my tracks
Mm.
and just started bending over, hurting in pain, crying, and everything. Everybody was like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I'm like, "I'm hurting real bad." So they had to call my mom, and they rushed me to of course, the school is across the street from the hospital. So I went to the hospital, and that's what happened.
Okay. So you say that was the most memorable time that you had it when you were in high school at Mainland.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you have the same doctors that you had when you started out? So tell me about that, like how you came about with your hematologist or your blood doctor.
My first hematologist I had, like I said, I met him when I was 15. So, and then he retired or whatever the case may be. And now the doctor that I have now, So basically, I only been dealing with two different hematologists.
Oh, that's good.
So after he retired, I went to another hematologist. So the hematologist I have now is very good
Okay.
at what she does. So, and she really does care about her patients.
And that's
Now,
what.
I do know it's hard as a sickle cell patient trying to find a good doctor that's really going to care about you when it comes to your sickness, your illness. And I just thank God for her every day.
Yes, because that is very important to have a doctor, and that's very good that you only went through two
Yeah,
doctors to get to a really good one that can stick with you. And if you don't mind, would you mind sharing your age, how old you are now?
I'm 37.
Okay, okay, okay. And so I know that you are happily married, and
Yes.
so let's go back to when you were courting or beginning to know someone. Can you express that to me and to us?
Uh, okay. When I met my husband, I I was afraid to tell him. I was because of past relationships or past experience that I had. So I was afraid to tell him that I have sickle cell. But we went out one day and we was at a restaurant and I had a crisis and he was like, "What's wrong?" And that's
Wow.
when he found out
Oh,
that
wow.
I had sickle cell. He was like, "What's sickle cell?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I had to explain it to you later. Just take me to the hospital." So he took me to the hospital. Matter of fact, that's when he met my dad.
Oh, wow.
The very first
Oh, wow.
that he met my dad. So from there on out, he does his research on sickle cell. Now our son does have the trait.
Okay.
So it's it's like um, I'm sorry, this thing has popped up on my screen.
I can still see you clear.
Okay, so but dating it was hard. It's really hard because you have a lot of people that's not educated when it comes to sickle cell. They don't understand it. Some people ask me, well, can they get it since it's like a blood thing? I'm like, no, it's not. No, you can't get it. It's hereditary. So, um, me and my husband, we've been married for 3 years, but we know before we got married, we known each other for 15 years. So
Oh, wow.
all together, yeah, we known each other for almost 20 years. So we just been friends. It was better for me to be friends with him first to really see how he was going to react and everything, the different situations, things when I go to the hospital, how he's going to react. But in between time, he had his relationships, I had my relationships, and that was it. We never, but the last 3 years has been the happy 3 years of my life.
Yes, I see pictures all the time, and I see you all. And shout out to him. His name is Davian. He's an
Yes,
EMT worker. God bless his heart, and I thank God
yes,
for him because I've seen relationships where the spouse may get tired, of the care, or it
yeah.
becomes too much and too stressful for the spouse. And I'm grateful for him in your life. Okay, so let's talk about um, I want to talk about children. Okay, so did you all talk about having children because you having the disease? Then you said that the son has the trait.
Um, we talked about having kids. Um, I think for me, I wanted a child. Who wouldn't want a child from their husband?
Right.
But for him, it was like I don't want you to go through that because I have been pregnant 3 different times.
Okay. Okay.
So and I understood where he was coming from. And the older you get, your body,
Yes, react.
yes, the older you get, it's not, you know. So I was just like, okay, well, we're not. I don't want any kids. He has. We have a son together, but mm-mm.
I hear you.
I didn't want to go back down that road
I hear you.
as far as having a miscarriage because my last pregnancy I was 6 months.
Oh wow.
So I didn't want to. I didn't want to go down that road. I didn't want to face it. And then too, I was also thinking about him because if something happened, for me trying to give birth, then I didn't want
Mhm.
him to have resentment on that child.
Yeah. I hear
So
you. Wow. I
no,
hear
as far
you.
as kids, no, we're very happy with the one child that we do
I
have.
hear you. I hear you. So now that you said that, I want to talk a little bit about PTSD, post traumatic syndrome disorder, because that was a question last week, and I want to reiterate it this week with you,
Mhm.
explaining and expressing the, I guess the actuality of a person dealing with this illness having PTSD.
uh, I asked that question last week. Can a sickle cell patient have PTSD? Now you did answer that question and you were saying yes. Um, as far as I'm just going by my experience. Um, I have PTSD when it comes to receiving blood because when I received blood in the past, something happened to me. We'll go into that another time or different day or whatever. But I will let you know it was something in the blood that made me go into a coma. So now when I do when I do get blood, I yes, I hyperventilate. I have to feel the blood before they put it up. I have to pray over the blood. I gotta call my mom. I gotta call my dad. It's a whole process. And and they're like, we know April, you know, we gonna let you do everything and I say yes, I have to do everything I have to do. I have to pray over my blood, I have to do this, I have to call my mom and dad, I have to have them pray over it, I have to feel it. So yes, when it comes to me getting receiving blood, um I believe I have a little bit of PTSD when it comes to that.
Okay. Now, I want you to tell your experience of having a crisis and
Hmm.
going from home to the hospital your experience in the hospital. I want you to take us on that path. Give us an experience that you've had in the hospital and go from home all the way through.
Okay. So let's say I have a crisis. I drive people that lives in Daytona, they know what I'm talking about. I drive from Daytona to Port Orange to go to the hospital.
Okay.
I don't go to the main hospital. Um, then when I get there, it depends on the staff because most of the staff they know me pretty well, and depends on the doctors too. Um, let's say I have a good nurse and everything. Now, when it comes to the doctors, that's where the problem lies when it comes to the doctors because they feel like we're in there for payments or we seeking drugs. No, that is not that is not it. If I'm coming to you back to back and I'm telling you is something wrong with me further than what research that you have done, it's something wrong because I'm not getting out of crisis. So the doctors, certain doctors will treat you very bad. They will only give you one shot, or they will give you zero point 0.5, which is like taking a Tylenol for when you're in excruciating pain, or they tell you, "Oh, I don't do this, I don't do that. That's not my religion." I'm like, you can't push your religion off on me if you're in the wrong field. If you're going to be a doctor, I have run into doctors that just don't care because you are a African American. I feel like it's because you're African American and they don't understand. I feel like they don't understand the disease. Uh, Speaking to people that's going to school, they literally told me that they skim over sickle cell. They not learning the disease at all. So they skim over it and that's it. But when it comes to the doctors, certain doctors I have problems with, certain doctors I don't. Just last time I had problems. They kept sending me home. I kept telling them it's something wrong because I'm in crisis. So I had to go to a whole new hospital to find out that I had pneumonia. And that's where my crisis was really coming from. So,
Has any nurse or doctor ever apologized for any of the treatment? Like if they feel like they've overstepped or done something to hurt your feelings, have you do you remember think back if you ever gotten a I apologize if I make you feel this way from any doctor or nurse?
no,
Okay.
no.
And I'm asking because I want to pinpoint to see where the area is it. What area is it that there's the real concern? And I think it is compassion. And I think it is past treatment and it's a usual treatment that's been a norm so far for sickle cell clients. And that's one of the things that I'm focusing on in training because I'm working on the training with doctors and nurses and the hospitals. Because
Mm-hmm.
like you said, when a certain doctor, and there are specifics for what doctors go to school for, if they're focusing on one subject matter. So sometimes I know concern in sickle cell is not a fact for them or a matter when they're treating sickle cell clients. And
Mm-hmm.
if they don't have one in their family or they don't know someone personally or can recollect with that, then they do tend to treat you all differently. And
Right.
that's something that I'm working on. Um, so you told us about you growing up, and you found out, when you had the crisis at 15 at Mainland, your senior year at Mainland, and
Mm-hmm.
about your parents. Tell us how was it for your parents, with them raising you, how it was with your parents raising a child that had sickle cell disease.
Um, them raising me. Well, talking to my dad and my mom, because my dad worked two jobs and my mom worked too. So when you're for them, it's hard to see their child in pain and there's nothing that they can do at all. Now there has been plenty of times where my dad may think I'm not paying attention to him. Now I see my mom, I see her cry a lot too, but I also see my dad cry because he's more like macho, whatever. And I see him cry. I'm like, Dad, it's gonna be okay. He was like, I put this pain on you, and I don't know. He said, I wish I could just take the pain away from you. I wish I can feel what you feel. But like I told my dad, I wouldn't wish this pain on my worst enemy. So um it's very uh mental. It's a mental thing for my parents. And you gotta have some you let me tell you, when you have sickle cell, you gotta have some strong people standing behind you, your parents behind you 100%. I've had sickle cell patients where or sickle cell friends where they don't have parents to come visit them. And that's another thing too. When you don't have like family and friends and everybody that's standing behind you, they will treat you different. And the friends that I do have that does have sickle cell, I've had a couple of friends that passed from it. But I try to go see them when they're in the hospital because it when you're there, especially now because it's COVID and not too many people can come see you. Now when COVID first started, I lost my mind. I was in the hospital by myself crying because I was so used to the family oriented type with my dad being there, my mom there, my husband there. You know, I was so used to that, and I was just like, Lord, you got to get me through this. But it's very hard on my parents, especially when I do have my crisis. It's hard.
So
So
you mentioned the difference now because of with COVID in the hospitals. I know that the patients are limited to one person per visit for 24 hours.
it depends on the hospital.
Okay.
It depends on the hospital. Now the hospital that was just in, they're like that. The other hospital, no, you can have two.
Okay.
So it depends. It depends on the hospital on what their rules are.
Okay. Another question is, what advice would you give those that have the traits and they're seeking to be married, seeking to talk to a significant other? What advice would you give them in reference to helping them to talk it out so that their other significant other to be would know?
Um, my advice to them, if one person has the trait, my advice to them is to talk to your partner and see if they can get tested to see if they have the trait. Because we talk to our son all the time. He has the trait, and we're like, okay, so when you start dating, um, just do whoever your significant other is going to be and whoever you're going to marry, make sure she gets tested first to see if she has the trait. Because if she has the trait, you will have a child that has the disease. But my auntie had the trait, so I don't. That's all I can say. Is just ask them would they be willing to take a test to see if they have the trait.
Yes. Okay, so as far as employment is concerned, being that you do have crises, how is it? Is it easy? Is it a challenge? How is it for you to work to, help take care of yourself? I know you're married, but how is it for you in the workforce?
Um, let's see. I got on disability in 2003, so I was working. After that, I was still working. Um, Now it's hard. It's hard to work and to go to work. I've tried to work, but when you have your crisis and you in and out the hospital, a lot of employees are not gonna. They're not gonna accept that. You
Right.
know. Um, I do have my own business. I have two of them,
Okay.
so I do try to make ends meet.
Okay. Okay. So tell us about your businesses. Tell us what you do.
Okay, so one of them me and my mom have together. We do t-shirts. We do a lot of different things, candy apples, whatever you want. We do it all. Um, and I'm gonna show you a couple of the shirts that we did. Now, this one we did, and it says, "I am a sickle cell warrior. What's your superpower?" So my mom came up with this saying. Okay. Now, if you guys like this, I can send you my number, and if you have any questions about our shirts, I will let you know the price of on them and everything. This one is sickle cell awareness, and then the one I have on is a cell.
Okay.
How your cell when your cell sickle, it's a moon. It's a crescent shape. A lot of people say it's a moon shape. So it has the cell, and then it has sickle inside of it, or cut out inside of it. So if you like anything that you see, you can give me a call. And then my mom, it's a sickle cell blanket, guys. It says, since you can't read it, I'm gonna read it for you. It says fight like a girl. Um, which we are warriors, so we're gonna fight anyway. Now, my business is called Makaya's Creations. Um, a lot of my stuff has to deal with balloons, parties, bridal showers, baby showers, birthdays, office parties, whatever, Christmas parties, Easter, all that. So I do all my balloons, my garlands with the flowers. For Christmas, I did my wreaths. I
Okay.
did for Valentine's Day. I did like the with the clear balloons with the flowers and stuff inside of it. It's a lot that I do. Um, I'm getting prepared for a sweet 16 party I got to do.
Okay.
So I do try to stay. I do try to stay busy.
That's good.
So
And I thank you for sharing because a lot of young people that have sickle cell may need ideas or things or ways that they can
mhm.
make money if they are in and out of the hospital. So that's why I really wanted you to share. And thank you for sharing those
You
ideas. You're
welcome.
very talented. Yes. Um, my next question would be, how does this affect your husband? Because I know you're married. I know you're married, So how does it affect him?
My husband is he's a worry wart. That's how it affects him. He worries a lot. He worries a lot. So it truly it affects him a lot. But I let me tell you something, guys. I try to eat right. That's number one. I try to eat right. I have beef once a month. I have, and then for the rest of the month, I might have like my chicken, my fish, my salmon. I might have lamb every now and then, but I try to stay away from my ground from the ground beef though, because it's not good for you. So yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to share with our audience tonight in reference to sickle cell disease? Any-
Um. Oh, you guys, I am also on another sickle cell website, but I've had one person type in and say that because they do have sickle cell and they don't work and they try to make ends meet, or when they try to work, let me tell you guys something. You can get a disability check. A lot of sickle cell patients don't know this, but it's a disability. Or you get a disability check.
Can
So
you tell the steps on how a person will be able to get disability with sickle cell?
okay, so the steps for that is your hematologist, your doctor, will pull up everything you don't went to the hospital for, what you went to the doctors for, and everything. Then you take that to the Social Security office. They go over it. They'll call you in for the interview or whatever, and then you will. For me, it only took me a month. So for me, I had got my check with the next month. So I don't know how it is in different states, but yeah.
Okay. So after they go to their doctor and the doctor gives them the information they need, then where do they go?
Social Security office.
Okay, so they take that information to the Social Security office and apply.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have to
Okay.
apply
I
for it.
know that's been a question lately about, disability in different areas in reference to is it a disability? Can they get disability for it? So I'm glad you were able to let them know. So anyone that watches the video or the replay can know that's what they need to do.
Right, right. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a disability, and just talk to your doctor. I'm sure your
Yeah.
doctor wouldn't have a problem with giving your medical records, but you can get all your medical records online though.
Mm-hmm.
I know here you can't. I don't like I say I don't know about other places. In Florida,
Okay.
is different, but yeah, here you can.
Okay. I want to pause the commercial break just to let you all know that I do have my ways so you can get that you are able to give to my organization on the screen. And there are 5 different ways that you're able to give to me and to help me with this organization. One is Cash App, L Long Sickle, Givelify. All you do is search the Levi Long Sickle Cell Association through Zelle under Griffin Kiana at gmail.com, PayPal, Kiana Griffin at live.com, and Venmo at Kiana Griffin. This is a 501c3 organization. It is tax deductible. And I have a passion to help those that have sickle cell. I'm glad to know April. I'm glad to help anytime I can, advocate for her. Anyone. It doesn't matter where you are, any city, any state. And that's the reason why I didn't name my organization after a certain county or a certain city, because I want to have the flexibility to help anywhere. Even if I go into a city where there is a sickle cell association, I would like to help them as well, or even learn from them. As you can see, sickle cell is a real disease. It affects individuals, it affects families, and it affects people around you, loved ones, those that care about you. And our goal is to advocate on behalf of those that have sickle cell so they'll know that they're not alone. They're not drug seekers. They are individuals and people that do need the assistance to help their bodies go back from sickling to whole cells. So, April, is there anything else you would like to say before we say goodnight to the good people?
No, that's it. That
Okay.
is it.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate you kindly. And thank you for being open to answering the questions that I did have for you.
Are
If
you
you
welcome?
have any more questions, you can inbox me on Facebook. I'm at the Levi Long Sickle Cell Association, or even my personal page, Kiana Diane Griffin or Kiana Griffin. And if you have any questions, if you need information or education in reference to sickle cell, I will be glad to help. Even I have a PowerPoint that I share with teachers if they want to share with their classes. So you guys have a great night. Thank you for tuning in. And I'll see you all next Monday, the same time, same place. Good night.
Bye.
Bye, April. Thank
Bye.
you.